Hey, everybody. Welcome. This is Devin here to bring you the Common Thread new podcast. Doing it solo this time, just based on scheduling and where we're at in life. Things didn't work out with the dudes next door, so I'm here to bring you my own solo podcast called The Common Thread. This idea sparked a while back. I was sitting with two buddies of mine, just talking about life, and I just want to cover like everything, like the dudes next door. It'll just be me this time, just my takes on everything happening right now in the world, from sports, movies, relationships, you name it, we'll cover it. We're going to talk about it. Today's episode, just some quick topics, just an intro episode to kind of get things warmed up. Just to get some feedback, get some stuff out there. The first episode, I just want to talk about a few things in the sports realm. Then we're going to talk about a movie I saw recently. And then lastly, just a life topic as things kind of have come up. So let's just kick it right off. I want to talk about the Super Bowl. And it was, I have to tell you, from the game to the commercials to the entertainment, it was one of the best games, Super Bowls, all put together in a wrap I've seen in a while. As a Patriots fan, I have to tell you, like, it was a little bit more, if not more, way more exciting than last year's Super Bowl. The fourth quarter was hype. I thought that, certainly the 49ers, looked like the better team for the majority of the game, but it doesn't matter. Fourth quarter, last 15 minutes, the Chiefs just came out hot. I think Patrick Mahomes, looked great. I don't know about MVP caliber, but he looked great. I thought, the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo, looked a little scared out there. I don't know. He just I don't think he was really tested in these playoffs. I mean, the last game before that, he had, 8 throwing attempts. And this game, he just, he didn't look sharp. He didn't look good. He didn't look comfortable. Matter of fact, both the quarterbacks, in my opinion, they look scared. And obviously, it's a big stage. A lot of people watching the game. I just saw somewhere in the vicinity of just over 100 million people watch that game. So I guess you just can't put yourself in that situation. But it's crazy to just say, you want the best players playing that game, right? Two young guys at that level, to me, they both didn't look great. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about the MVP, right? Did Mahomes deserve the MVP? Bold take here. I'm going to say no. There's a guy that slipped under the radar, in my opinion. Obviously the defensive players don't get enough credit, but I think both teams played really well defensively, except for Richard Sherman. But, on the offensive side of the ball, one guy stood out to me that I just think he kind of slipped under. And I'm going to say, Damian Williams, running back for KC, 104 yards rushing, 29 yards receiving. That's at the biggest stage, and he got 2 touchdowns at the end of the game that were pretty clutch. So it's hard to ignore, a guy of that caliber coming in where, he needs to make a big play, and he makes those big plays. Then you look at Mahomes, at the end of the game, he did turn it on. He looked good. But I'm looking at a whole game-wise, Damian Williams is MVP. This is where I'm the NFL, a little bit of a popularity contest, in my opinion. You're just going to throw out Mahomes because, he's popular within, the NFL community. He threw 285 yards. That's pretty good. 2 touchdowns. Pretty good. But 2 interceptions? When you look at the whole scheme on paper, it's not that great of a game. It's not. The fourth quarter was a really great quarter. I get that he came back and won the game for them, sort of. I mean, I just think that, when you look at all the components, there's got to be some other guys in the conversation. My personal opinion is Damian Williams, MVP of that Super Bowl. The guy looked phenomenal through and through. His running game was strong through the whole game, and he averaged 6 yards a carry for the game. So, it's hard to argue. I don't know. Other bold takes, favorite commercials of the game for the Super Bowl. The Smart Pack is definitely something that's pretty relatable coming from the Boston region. I think that was pretty funny. The Jason Momoa commercial, that was all right. The Quicken Loans. A lot of people were talking about, on an emotional level, that Google commercial. Where the guy's just remembering his wife. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Get your box of tissues ready for that minute of time where he's just going through, and you got that little piano key just going, and it just starts. It's just straight trigger to the eye drops. But all in all, and then the halftime performance, I'll be completely honest with you. After the last couple of halftimes, I kind of didn't watch. I watched the highlights of it, to be completely honest. I thought it was good. Better than the most that I've seen recently. I mean, they've just become kind of like, they're more of a spectacle now, where it's like lip sync, some dancing, loud music, some cool stuff happening on the stage, and then that's about it. But the performances themselves haven't been great. But this one was a little bit different. You got to respect J-Lo and Shakira, 43 and 50. They're doing it. You can only hope that you can be that fucking good at that age. Let's be honest. It's pretty cool. But yeah, all in all, super great game. I think it helps the NFL a lot. Just talking to some buddies, it doesn't help the NFL to have, a young rising star like Patrick Mahomes win a Super Bowl. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it's good for the young audiences. It's almost like passing of a torch. The one thing that kind of turned me a little bit the wrong way was the fact that they were like, Kansas City, the beginning of a legacy. Let's pump the brakes on this for just a second. The NFL right now, I'm going to be honest with you, to put the words legacy in this day and age where you have so many good teams out there that are hungry to win, I don't know, man. Like, you got Tennessee, the Titans, they showed up in the playoffs. They get some other, key pieces around them. They're an asset. You got Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens. They'll be back, and they're going to be hungry, And then you got teams like, the Patriots. I hate to say it, even though I'm a Patriots fan, I don't want to toot our horn, but like, we get a few assets going, and we're right back in the Super Bowl. That's a legacy. I mean, we do it every time. We just show up, all right? And then on the NFC side, you got teams like, the 49ers are still hungry. They're still going to be good next year regardless. Bosa is going to be, oh, man, he's a young stud. He's going to be incredible. Mind you, another team I just slipped my mind. The Bills are a young, upcoming team, and then you also got the Steelers. If they get healthy, they're going to be good as well. But on the NFC side, if they get healthy, Philadelphia Eagles, they had injury prone up the yang. You look at that, that injury report, and you're like, wow, with what they had on reserves and they still plucked along, like, that's incredible. The Seahawks, the Vikings, the Green Bay Packers, if Breeze comes back for the Saints, like, forget about it. And then, you still talk about teams that are still going to try to piece something together. And then you got young guys coming in the league like Joe Burrow, who, like, I'm a little, when you're talking about teams that good and a good kid like Joe Burrow's coming in the league, it's an interesting time in football because I just feel like there's so many good teams right now. Putting words legacy after one Super Bowl win, bold. I'm not against it. Like, if they continue to show up and, like, make these runs, sure, but, like, after year one and the year before this, they got knocked out by the Pats. Sorry, guys, brought it up, but, like, let's see some consistency before we start talking legacy. Okay, so that's my football. Also, I have to tell you, one player I'm looking forward to next year who, like, just impressed the hell out of me, Derrick Henry. I'm so stoked to see where he goes. Titans in general, though, after they beat the Pats, I was like, all right, I see you. And then they beat the Ravens. I was like, damn, okay. And, like, you just start seeing them, even playing the Chiefs, like, obviously if you stop their run game, okay, but if they can get some other pieces, like, they'll be fine. They're going to be up there. Don't sleep on them in 2020, 2021. It's going to be epic. So that's sort of my take right now on football. One other thing on the sports front, I know my man Kobe it's still kind of old news, but Kobe dying is it's a tough one. It shakes a lot of people the wrong way. I think it's just tough. Growing up, watching a guy like him play. I remember, I was, a little later in my life, right after, he started his career, I started really following basketball, 01, 02. I remember we were going to my first basketball game in 2000 in Boy Scouts, and I watched my man Antoine Walker, Paul Pierce crush that stuff. But watching him and Pierce play at each other every year, for the entirety of me growing up was just awesome. You talk about, 2008 championship game, incredible series. Same thing in 2010, even though we lost, but you got to respect the guy. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't hate Kobe because he was good. He's like Derek Jeter, I'm a Sox fan, I hate the Yankees, but I have to respect Jeter for what he accomplished. Now, that's different in that I think statistically Kobe, not like Jeter, Kobe is in a league of his own. He is an elite. He was the guy between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. He was that cat. But in the same instinct, I don't even think people put in that mentality, that work ethic that he did. I used to think he was kind of a selfish player, but he was just in a league of his own. It is so sad to see what happened to him and his daughter. That whole week last week, I've taken some time to reflect. Last week was a hard week, which gets into my next subject of I was going to save this for the end of the podcast, but I'm going to talk about it now, and I'll talk about this for the majority of the podcast. It's just like life right now in that moment. So Kobe passed away Sunday. That morning, I went to the beach. I got a bagel, everything bagel, toasted with cream cheese. I got Dunkin' Donuts, black cold brew, no cream, no sugar. I know, gross. It's fine. I'm trying to be healthy. Don't be mad at me. So I was at the beach and I was eating my breakfast and I was sitting there and I was like, I made this kind of cheesy, corny post on Instagram and Facebook about stretching your limits, basically daring to explore, daring to get yourself out there and doing and I remember coming home after that and I was just about to watch the Pro Bowl and my phone is I go on to social media and it's rest in peace Kobe, and I'm like, this has got to be a joke. I'm sure everybody else was thinking it. TMZ reporting it, that can't be a reliable source. Come on now. And sure enough, I was watching the Pro Bowl and they were like, we've got breaking news, and I was like, this is it. It's real. And then you start reflecting on your own little journey. Kobe's a young guy, 41. It's so surreal. You watch an icon, a major sports icon, who's made an impact on, the sport itself, where the direction it was going, where he was heading. With his daughter, you think about, I read an article just before he passed away about how the female presence in a male sport is possible, especially in the NBA. He was talking about 3 WNBA players who could play in the NBA right now. And I was looking, you think about his daughter and her presence and where she could have gone to maybe play in the NBA. That's a huge impact in the sport. And, I really truly think that in the future, because of Kobe's presence, you will see somebody working towards that because of his mentality. And there will be a woman in the NBA, I guarantee you it probably, 10, 15 years, maybe from now, maybe sooner, in the NBA who will have been motivated or influenced by the Mamba mentality. It influences us a little bit as athletes, I think, to have somebody like a Kobe Bryant who pushes the limits of the human body in ways that even just a Joe Schmo, somebody who just played high school sports like myself, you can push yourself. And so having lost such a key figure in sports is tough. And so anyways, back to the point at hand, so that happened Sunday. That's rough, right? Obviously I don't have a personal connection with Kobe. It's tough to say, but when you idolize somebody, that does become tough. And it's also hard to understand, he was with his daughter at the time and, 7 others who unfortunately lost their lives. And then, the week goes by, you just get more unfortunate news. And then Wednesday, I found out a former hockey player I played with growing up, when I was younger. We won a state championship in middle school. Things were great. We were awesome. I thought a lot of those guys, I thought very highly of. But, after that, you kind of like lose connections with some of these guys. Some of them went to different schools. Some of them went to prep school. This kid, unfortunately, he did go to prep school. I did not keep in touch with him. He went off and did some pretty big things. I kind of followed him here and there on social media, but I checked my phone Wednesday morning, and unfortunately, he was found dead in his apartment, and he had passed away from illnesses that he had succumbed to. I'm not sure what those illnesses were. I mean, he's 26 years old. I mean, you think about, he went to bed that night and didn't wake up. And, I did know him. I haven't talked to him in a long, long time. But I think about that situation. I guess experiencing the things I've also experienced in my life, I guess I realized, I got to get my stuff back in order. I got to get my stuff back in check. So I've recently moved here, as I mentioned in my podcast on The Dudes Next Door. And in that moment, like, I had realized I had lost sight of some of the more important things, like the people that got me to this point. There have been so many people that have crossed my path in my journey of life that I wanted to extend. I want to connect with. I want to make sure that people know, like, listen, if I didn't talk to you or I did talk to you and, I saw you, there were people that I played sports with that I looked up to and I thought, man, I want to be just like them. I want that work ethic. I want to be just as good, if not better. There are people that make great life choices, that have strong work ethic and just work grind that I respect the hell out of. People who've had tough situations and have overcome them that I want to recognize. So in that moment, I had made it a thing that I'm not in a bad place in my mind. I'm not, but I want to do a better job at connecting with people. So as of that moment, I decided that from this point moving forward, I'm going to connect with somebody each day, whether it's a friend, a follower, or whoever, and just say, hey, I appreciate the things that you have given me, or that, hey, I'm just checking in on you, or maybe this is something I admire about you, but something positive to tell somebody, but also just to connect and just make sure, hey, you know what, you're thought of. Somebody, life's too short. You don't know when it's going to end. You don't. And it's truly astonishing that recently that this is so frequent with the people that I've seen or went to school with or know or have crossed paths with that slip away too soon. So I want to challenge everybody out there, with this podcast and this one in particular, to go out and just connect. Even tonight, I'd received a message from an ex-girlfriend of mine from high school, who felt, kind of bad for how she treated me in high school, but I never in my life saw it that way. But it was cool to just connect, you know what I mean? Like different perspectives, and you don't know how people perceived you. You don't know what people's thoughts are on you. And, it's good to just touch base. And you know what? You don't want to think about the what ifs or should haves. When life comes knocking and rolling, you just want to make sure you did everything possible. And that being said, I'm still reaching out to people. If I haven't reached out to you yet, I'm sure I will. It's just tough to just do it every day when you've got a busy schedule. It's not easy, but I'm making a conscious effort to just reach out to those in my life who've made an influence, or just to say hi, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm sort of at now with this new podcast, this solo podcast. I just want to, take in feedback, reach out to you guys, connect, get my thoughts, opinions out there on certain things. Now, one other fun topic for you, and then we're going to call it, and then we'll reach out with more stuff, material. But I want to talk about 1917. Okay. I'm going to try a non-spoiler attempt first, and then when I think I'm going to spill the beans, I'll tell you to stop. So, 1917. It's a one-shot film, okay? What's that mean? Like no cuts. Like there's no cut to another scene, cut fast forward. It's one scene all the way through. Incredible concept. I will tell you, it is one of the best films I saw in the entirety of last year. And that's bold because there were a ton of good movies last year. Technically, it's this year. But the beginning of this year, it's going to put a lot of people in an interesting position because this movie was filmed incredibly. The graphics were great. It makes you want more World War I. All right, I went in. I was almost a history minor in college. Fun fact for everybody, but this makes me want more World War I stuff, more stories. I want more battles. I mean, you kind of talk about it, and they did a great job just depicting the pure, just capturing it all. I guess the not the horror, but just the brutalness of war in that time, and just the way it's filmed. I personally would love to go to the place where they film, I don't know, all of it, because again, it's a one shot. It's beautiful landscape, and props to those guys for actually coming through. I could not tell. Apparently, they did like 9-minute increments. I read this article. They did like 9 minutes, right, of just straight filming. They somehow were like managed for it to like with editing, it had to be perfect. So you can't even tell like they did like 9-minute increments, which is pretty incredible. There are some parts where you're like, wow, I guess, not to be a spoiler. I don't know if I'm even spoiling, but this has nothing to do with the story. So okay, maybe I should start there. 1917 is a World War I based story on two soldiers who are left in assignment to go contact a unit that is going to attack some base. I'm trying to not give too much away, but be as plain Jane as possible. But they're trying to stop this U.S. or English, unit from attacking something that's going to be a trap by the Germans. Okay, good. That's about that. That's the summary of the movie in my short, stupid gist. But all in all, it's an incredible journey. And the way it's filmed is great. The music is good. The costume design person did a freaking unreal job, like just suiting all those people up. I pause now because now I'm going to spoil it. So I'll give you like 5 seconds. Okay. So incredible movie. There were some shockers. There were, it was, so it's sort of unbelievable that in that much time span, you think about, I think it's like not even 24 hours, what happened is incredible. Okay. There's a scene, there's tons of scenes that I just like am blown away by. You talk about them going through this pasture with these trees cut down, and they get to this farm, and then this plane comes in, blows up, or not blows up, it crashes. The guy's still alive in it. They pull him out. They don't kill him. Why? I don't know. He's a German. He's a bad guy. They're like, oh, give him water. And then the dude gets stabbed. The main character, the one that was in Game of Thrones, he gets sankened. And I told you, if this is a spoiler, then I'm sorry. But so he gets shanked, and he eventually dies because World War I medical procedures were like, all right, dude, what do we got? We got nothing. All right, good. You're gonna bleed to death. Good. That sounds good. The doctor's got some, scotch tape and a piece of gum and, a gauze pad or something. I don't know. Not even. So he dies, but, and the friend shoots the German to kill him. So I'm like, well, that was amazing. And then, literally 4 minutes after he dies, a whole nother British English infantry unit comes in and they're like, hey, and there's 20 of them. I'm like, wow, that's convenient that you guys just show up after the fact that the dude dies with vehicles and troops and maybe more medical supplies. That was sort of a kicker. Also, the other scene, so cut to, fast forward, they drive, and then he gets dropped off, right? This is another part that I'm like, it was good. This whole movie's great. This one part to me is like, oh, what are you doing? So he gets out of this truck and with these troops, and the second he gets out, there's a river and a town on the other side, or a village. I don't know what you want to call it. No sooner than he got out of the truck and they're like, this truck unit, this infantry is leaving, he gets shot at by a sniper. So I'm like, dude, why wasn't that sniper trying to kill everybody else? I don't know. I don't know. It's a little weird. So, and then all of a sudden there's more. So he goes upstairs, he messes with this dude. I thought he got shot. Now, that was just my take. He got shot, fell down the stairs. He then wakes up, right, hours later, and he's fine. I don't think he has any wounds. And then all of a sudden he's running outside and there's a fuck ton or Germans. You see spotlight. I don't know. You think there's Germans. I don't know. He was getting shot at by somebody or some Germans, I think. And then there's a big fire. It's intense. He's wrestling some dudes, and he's it's sort of like a Forrest Gump with your adrenaline rushing, and then he slides in to some safety place and then runs again and strangles and kills somebody. And then literally again, so he's within 10 feet of a German soldier before this and doesn't get shot. So that German soldier kind of fucking sucks. That's besides the point. If you can't hit somebody from 10 feet away, quit the fucking army. Don't do it. You're a waste. It's probably why the Germans are 0-2. Anyway, so then there's two of them, and they still both, so he escaped from that one, and then he killed one, and now he's running away from two, I think, or three. You don't really know, because he's just running, and the way he's running, you can't really see who's around him. At one point, you see, two guys, and they're trying to shoot him, and then he jumps over this into the water of this river, and it was a 40-foot jump, I would assume, maybe 30, 40 feet. It was a good jump, It was no puddle skipper, and it just boop, right in. And then all of a sudden, he's, whitewater rafting with his body and lives and goes down a waterfall that's also probably another 40 feet to conveniently land with the unit that's supposed to be the one that he's supposed to give the message to. Now, holy shit. A little bit of a stretch, but I liked it. I did, because the whole journey, you're like, wow. Holy cow. Holy cow. But so end of the movie was really well done. It was really good. I'm not going to spoil that part. Overall, I would tell you right now, it's my movie of the year. I would give it about, an 8.75, 8.8 out of 10 on my movie scale, just with those little spoofs. In some parts we're a little slow to kind of get there. But overall, incredible war movie. It's got to be at least in my top 5. If you saw Dunkirk, it's much better than Dunkirk. So there's that part. But that concludes today's podcast. I'm going to try to do this every week. So I'll be looking for feedback, comments, thoughts. If you guys want me to cover something, I'll absolutely cover it. Make sure you follow me, subscribe, whatever. I'm looking forward to this chapter, guys. It's a solo podcast. Thank you guys so much for the support with the Dudes Next Door and just all your feedback. So again, just keep sending it, keep supporting. I appreciate you guys. Again, challenge you guys this week. Just go out there, connect with somebody, reach out to a loved one, reach out to an old friend, maybe a mentor or somebody you looked up to, and just say what you need to say what you've wanted to say. Air it out. Life's too short. Get it done. And we'll see you next week, guys. Peace!